Can a paranormal experience change your life? Yes, it can. Welcome to Friday Night Ghost Frights from Haunted Road Media. I'm author and ghost historian Mike Ricksecker. Explore with us. The supernatural can change your life. I've been involved with the paranormal in some way, shape, or form for almost 30 years and have had a ton of experiences. But there are only a few that stand out as life changers. The first real life-changing paranormal experience that I had was when I was a young child, about 8 or 9 years old, when I woke up in my bed in the middle of the night, small town in Massachusetts, and there stood a shadow person. It looked just like a regular person, except everything was black. I had no idea at the time that it was a shadow person. I had no idea what to call it. What I thought was that there was an intruder in my room. Somebody was there to kill me, is what I thought. Young mind, that's what you think. For a long time, it just stood in the corner of my bedroom between the window and the closet and just stared at me. And then it actually approached my bed and did the craziest thing ever. It crossed my arms across my body like that. To this day, I still have no idea why I did that, and I can only guess as to what that meant. And then it ran off down the hall, and I watched it run into one of the closets. Again, I have no idea why it ran into one of the closets. And after it was gone, I found my legs immediately, found my voice immediately. It ran off to my parents' bedroom screaming about what had happened. Of course, they tried to tell me that it was just a bad dream, but I was awake for the whole thing. From that moment forward, even though I pretty much already believed in ghosts, no matter how much Scooby-Doo tried to tell me there were no such things, I knew for sure from that point forward, there was definitely something supernatural in this world. About 5 years later, we moved from that house in Massachusetts and moved into a new house in Ohio, where everything seemed quite normal. It was a nice house, just unpacking boxes, putting things away, and then suddenly, I saw something out of the corner of my eye near the door. When I turned to look, it was gone. This happened several times as I was unpacking and putting things away. I would keep seeing something near my door and dart away. Something black, kind of wispish. I ended up asking my mother if she had seen the same thing, and she actually acknowledged that she had. Now, for me, this was actually a big moment, because prior to that, when I had that other shadow person experience, of course, they tried to chalk that up as a bad dream. But here was my mother actually affirming something that I had seen that I knew was not normal for the house. So from that point forward, I kept calling the thing Tom anytime it would peek in at me, like peeping Tom. And after a couple of months, the activity kind of just went away. So I ended up chalking it up to something that was there, was just checking us out to make sure that we were an okay family, deemed us all right, and then it went on its merry way. But that acknowledgement from my mother, that affirmation that I wasn't crazy, that I had really seen what I had seen, because she had also seen it, was a game changer for me, because it affirmed for me everything I'd already seen to that point. These were only 2 incidents that I'm mentioning here. Around that time, I was also reading the book Yankee Ghost by Hans Holzer, and it took me a couple of chapters to realize that these were real, true ghost stories that were actually being reported in this book by Dr. Holzer. That, coupled with reading something like the Amityville Horror, and my interest was sincerely and truly piqued about everything supernatural and paranormal. Thus, I entered into my very first paranormal investigation, already very, very interested in things that were paranormal. Of course, at that age, about 15 years old, I had no idea that you called it a paranormal investigation. There weren't TV shows on at the time that depicted what we see now on television. It was 1990 after all. During the end of my sophomore year, my friend David and I went to my friend Lori's house just to kind of hang out and shoot the breeze. But at one point, Lori mentioned that she thought her house was haunted. Of course, my interest was extremely piqued given, everything that I'd already been reading, things that I'd already experienced. And so we went upstairs to investigate. Again, I had no idea that's what you called it at the time, but this was our little miniature version of it. And so we went up there to check out what she had been reporting, which was that anytime that she would tack something up on this one wall in her bedroom, it would always fall down, whether it was within a few minutes, a few hours, a few days, it would always fall and hit the floor. So we're checking out the wall, putting things up on it, and then my friend David did something that was a bit unexpected. put his hand straight to the wall like that. And then he turned bright red and started sweating profusely. Well, I'd never seen this out of my friend. I had no idea that he was extremely sensitive. Had no idea that he was kind of like some of the people that Dr. Holzer described in his book, Yankee Ghosts. But there he was, bright red and sweating just from touching this wall. So what he decided to do was go and test other walls in the house to see if there are any more hot spots like that. He'd go around touching the different walls of the house. And as he did this, I remember standing there staring at that wall, then looking back at my friend and just knowing that this was going to play some sort of major part of my life. I had no idea what at the time, but given the things that I already seen up to that point and my extreme interest in this type of subject matter, I knew it was going to be a huge part of my life. Game changer. Well, fast forward several years now, I'm in my mid-30s. I've been doing a lot more with the paranormal field, and we are investigating a house in Edmond, Oklahoma. This is the house that ended up on the show, The Haunted. And it was really my first case that was as malevolent as it was. And really, while we were investigating, even though the girl Taliesin was being terrorized and she had her several reports of the shadow person with the red eyes in the closet, we had seen a few things at the house, got a number of EVPs, but hadn't experienced that type of malevolence until we actually did the cleansing. And we had that night where we had Carl Johnson out there and we were trying to drive this out. And we did this because it was something that the family wanted out of their house. When we were there investigating, it wasn't really rearing its ugly head. But that last night, as we were cleansing the house and driving that spirit out, and Taliesin came back in. She was supposed to stay outside, but she had to use the restroom. She started talking at something against the wall, something unseen, asking questions like, why are you here? Why are you doing this? Why you keep terrorizing me? Why you keep terrorizing the cat? Why you keep terrorizing my family? Carl decided to do a blessing over her. And as he did so, she doubled over in pain, like she'd just been punched in the gut. She dropped to the floor.
This is a chance to reveal yourself, and we command you, by the holy powers, by the angels that visit this house.
Ow! Ow! You all right? Ow!
We picked her up, got her on the bed, and she was okay a few moments later. And I didn't know this at the time, but going back over the audio after the fact, there was an EVP right there that said, die.
This is a chance to reveal yourself, and we command you, by the holy powers, by the angels that visit this house.
Ow! Ow! You all right? Ow!
So there was truly something that had punched her in the gut and wanted her out of the picture. But the activity didn't stop there, and this is really where it differs from what they showed on television. Of course, they put that EVP in a different place and not where it really was. But then the back door started blowing open. The master bedroom where she had been at, which was the bathroom that she had used, that back door kept blowing open, and we closed it and it'd blow open again, and we'd close it and it'd blow open again. We ended up having to deadbolt the thing. Carl ended up doing a blessing over the door. Well, at this same time as that door kept blowing open, the tri-field meter that we had set up in Taliesin's bedroom, right on the dresser there near the closet where she kept seeing the entity with the red eyes, that started going off like crazy.
Is it on? What is it on?
Okay. Where's the K2, Mike? You got it?
So there are all these different things that kept happening back to back to back to back. Well, finally, we drove that entity out of the house. We were in the backyard trying to push it out the backyard, and the wind just kicked up like crazy, and the cats were running around. They were circling us as Carl was doing this blessing, and we're all in a circle holding hands and trying to drive this thing out. Finally, the wind subsided. Carl dropped to a knee. Everything was over. We helped Carl up to his feet. Everything was calm. The family, which was over in the side yard, we talked to them for a couple minutes and we said, wow, that was some really crazy wind that had kicked up. They experienced no wind at all. It was an absolutely crazy night. Now, like I said, up to that point, I had already been involved with the paranormal in some way, shape, or form for quite some time. I'd seen a few things, but that type of strength from an entity, I had not yet seen, in the way that it actually hurt Taliesin, the way it was refusing to get out of the house, the way it was simultaneously blowing open the back door, the tri-field meters going off, and the way it actually exited the property with all of that crazy wind. That was something I had not yet seen, and so that really showed me the power that some of these entities can have. And that wasn't even a demon. That was just a strong, malevolent human spirit. For more personal shadow people experiences, please check out the video off to the side. It also includes real footage of a shadow person that we've caught. I'm Mike Ricksecker. Until next Friday night.